Why you reject astrology. Hey, I'm Monica, and tonight I want to talk about something that causes a very strange reaction in people, not why people believe in astrology, but why some people reject it so aggressively. Because if you really think about it, it's interesting. People rarely react to astrology calmly. They laugh, mock it, get irritated, roll their eyes, start arguing even when nobody asks them to. And honestly, people usually don't get this emotional about things they truly don't care about. So, why does astrology trigger people so deeply? Let's talk about it. Some people think astrology is nonsense. Some think it's dangerous pseudoscience, and some secretly read their birth chart at 2 a.m. while pretending they don't believe in any of it. But what if rejecting astrology isn't always about logic? What if sometimes it's about discomfort? First of all, I don't think astrology is magic, and I don't think planets literally control people like puppets. That's not even how most serious astrologers see astrology. It's more like a symbolic language, a way of noticing patterns, personality, emotions, life cycles, relationships, inner conflicts. And honestly, humans have always searched for patterns. Psychology does it, religion does it, even science does it. Human beings are naturally wired to search for meaning and connection. That's why I always find it funny when people say, astrology is stupid because it generalizes everyone, because humans generalize everything. Introverts, extroverts, attachment styles, love languages, personality tests. We constantly try to categorize each other, but for some reason, astrology creates a very specific kind of discomfort in people. And I think one of the reasons is this: astrology feels personal, sometimes too personal, because when someone suddenly hears a description of themselves and feels strangely understood, it can feel unsettling, especially for people who spend most of their lives avoiding looking inward. Imagine hearing, "You act like you don't need anyone. You try to control everything because uncertainty scares you. You overthink at night. You struggle to trust people." And suddenly something inside you goes quiet because a part of you knows it's true. And when something feels true before you're emotionally ready to face it, the easiest reaction is rejection, not curiosity, not reflection. Rejection. And honestly, I think many people reject astrology because they're afraid of looking irrational. We live in a culture where everyone wants to appear logical, detached, intelligent, emotionally unaffected, especially online. People are terrified of looking foolish. So instead of asking, why has this system existed for thousands of years? And why do millions of people connect with it? They ask. How quickly can I prove that I'm smarter than this? But that's not skepticism, that's ego. Real skepticism is curiosity, not automatically rejecting everything that makes you uncomfortable. Another problem is that most people don't actually understand what astrology is. They think astrology means, oh, you're a Gemini, so you must be fake, or a Mercury retrograde ruined my life. And yes, the internet has reduced astrology into memes sometimes, but real astrology is much deeper than just sun signs. It studies contradictions, inner conflict, fear, trauma, the way people love, repeating emotional patterns. Some people crave closeness while fearing it at the same time. Some look confident but constantly feel anxious inside. Some appear cold only because they're deeply sensitive. Astrology doesn't make people simple. If anything, it shows how complex human beings really are. But there's something even deeper. I think astrology scares some people because it suggests something uncomfortable. Maybe you're not as random as you think. And that's a frightening idea because if patterns exist, then maybe your relationships aren't random. Maybe your crises aren't random. Maybe your repeating lessons aren't random. And maybe Your life actually has meaning. For some people, that feels comforting. For others, it feels terrifying because meaning creates responsibility. And honestly, I've always found it strange that people mock astrology while believing all kinds of irrational things themselves. People call astrology ridiculous, but refuse to text first because if they wanted to, they would. They say astrology isn't scientific while taking personality tests designed for corporate offices. They reject birth charts while allowing social media algorithms to know them better than they know themselves. Humans are far less rational than they like to believe, and astrology somehow exposes that beautifully. But I also want to say something important. Not all criticism of astrology is bad. Sometimes people genuinely had negative experiences, manipulation, fear tactics, toxic spiritual gurus, people using astrology to excuse harmful behavior. And honestly, that criticism is fair. Astrology should never replace common sense, it should never replace therapy, responsibility, or real life action. A birth chart is not an excuse to hurt people. And spirituality without self awareness quickly becomes escapism. So caution is healthy, but hatred and aggression are something different. And sometimes I think people reject astrology because they're afraid of being truly understood. Because once you start looking inward, you can't always unsee certain things: your patterns, your emotional wounds, your defense mechanisms, the masks you wear. And self awareness sounds beautiful until it starts changing you. And maybe that's exactly why astrology still survives. Thousands of years later, different cultures, different languages, different generations, and people still return to it, not because they're stupid, but because human beings desperately want to understand themselves. And maybe astrology simply gives language to feelings people already carried inside but never knew how to explain. And honestly, you don't have to believe in astrology, you really don't. But I do find it interesting how quickly people reject anything connected to emotion, symbolism, intuition, and inner life, while blindly trusting systems that constantly disappoint them. Maybe astrology isn't perfect. Maybe it never will be. But maybe people continue returning to it because modern life makes people feel deeply disconnected from themselves, and astrology creates the feeling of having a conversation with your own soul again. So maybe the real question isn't, why do people believe in astrology? Maybe the real question is, why does the idea of being emotionally understood make some people so uncomfortable? Anyway, that's all for tonight. I'm Monica, and if this video found you at the right moment, maybe it wasn't an accident. Good night.